Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Chief here, the professional problem solver, coming to you live for another of the Overcomers, our favorite podcast. Comment, share, feel free to get involved with some questions. We've got a very exciting guest today. His name is Kip Knippel. Our guest today has amazing attitude, a winning mindset, and I'm sure that after this show you're going to feel refreshed, re-energized, and motivated. Kit is recruiting expert, and recruiting is so important right now. Being able to find your career, being able to find your purpose. So many people are lost, trying different things. He could definitely help you with clarity. He could help you with finding the right employer. And if you are an employer, he could definitely help you find the perfect candidates. So the large network of relationships Kip has developed within the national business and legal communities, along with his broad technical recruiting expertise, enable him to bring the right resources to help our clients solve their most difficult executive recruiting, talent acquisition, and business challenges. Kip earned his BA in English and Communication from St. John's University and his JD from William Mitchell College of Law. Kip is also avid triathlete and a marathoner and fitness and weight training enthusiast. Uh, Kip and I belong to a really cool mastermind, Arete. That's how we met and found each other. Get to know him, get to know his life journey here at the Overcomers. Kip tried to convince me that never had anything dramatically difficult in his life, but I'm sure during the conversation we're going to find out that he also overcame some big challenges. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to my friend Kip. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm honored, super excited to be on here. And yes, I've had plenty of challenges in my life. I just said there's nothing, based on some of your other guests, nothing profound or dramatic, but we can absolutely get into that. But I'm honored. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. And look, I've always been a fan from a very early age. I realized as an observer of life that we could see any situation as a tragedy or comedy. And if you don't sweat the small stuff, it's all comedy. It's all like a big adventure. And if we look at life as a game and just play the game, it's so much more uh, enjoyable and less stressful. I mean, most of the things we sweat, they don't matter. It's all small stuff. So maybe it's your mindset.
What's
You know,
that?
maybe it's your mindset. Maybe you just don't get phased by losses and little setbacks, and you just always have that smile on your face. Like when I think of you, I always see this big smile, and that's why I was really curious to get to know you and learn about your story. So, our first question by tradition is take us back into your previous generations. I believe that generational curses and generational blessings and wisdom is passed through generations. I'm really fascinated with the pattern that a lot of people see in skipping a generation. So we're more like our grandfathers than we are like our fathers. I mean, it's not a pattern that you see in every single person, but it's so common in different countries and different situations where the skip generation thing. I'm sure you've heard of it,
Yes.
and I think that we are impacted by our great grandfathers and grandfathers and our responsibility as fathers also is something very serious because we're moving on with generations ahead, and how we raise our children and the foundations and principles we set are going to be instrumental for them. So being a father is a great responsibility. So we want to learn a little bit about And of course, being a mother and a grandmother too, not to minimize their role. But if you can take us back from your mom's father and mother and share about your grandparents, what were they doing? What was something that each one of you gave you, whether it was warning or example, and how do you remember them? Also, share with us about your grandparents from your father's side. What were some principles that were passed on, whether they made it intentional and they said, keep, never do this, always do that, or you just saw as an observer some things that were warnings or examples? What was their purpose? What was their career? What was their profession? What was their special skill? And then talk to us about your parents and how your parents impacted you. And that's it. Let's start with that.
That is a big first question.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, so my mom's parents. So my mom's dad actually passed away when I was 3 years old. So I don't really have many memories of him other than photographs I've seen with me on his lap and with him. So I don't really remember him. But my mom's mom was very, very close to me. She lived in the same town as we did, where I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota. Um, my whole growing up in the summer when I wasn't in school, like in grade school, my mom and I would pick up my grandma. And she would pretty much spend many days with us. We'd take her grocery shopping and then bring her groceries back to her place. We'd take her shopping. My mom was the youngest in her family and very, very close to her mom. And I think she lived within 10 minutes of us. So very, very close relationship with her my entire life. She came to all my sporting events, all growing up, was very involved, every party or event or 4th of July, things at my parents' house growing up. My grandma was there and she was really the rock of my mom's family. So everybody, uh, from across the country, my mom's siblings and would come back to Minnesota every summer in fact, this weekend we're doing a family reunion. Today's day, or actually last night was day one,
Mm.
with my mom's whole side of the family. So very, very close to my grandma. She passed away my freshman year of college. But I don't know, she was the rock. She was steady. She made the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had to this day in my entire life. Uh, and I played board games with her. She accused me of cheating, which I probably did when I was a little kid. Yeah, very, very close to my grandma. And she was very much a part of my life. And then my dad's parents live in Dyersville, Iowa, where the Field of Dreams was filmed.
Mm.
And in fact, they were in the movie Field of Dreams multiple times as extras in the background in various scenes. And then my cousins down in Iowa worked at the Field of the Dreams. After the movie was done, you know, they said if you build it, people will come. I know that's Ed Milet, from Arte's favorite movie.
Mm.
But people for years, and they're still coming now, from all around the world come to the Field of Dreams to see it. And my cousins, roughly my age and a little bit younger, they were the ghost players when they would reenact scenes from the movie as all these tourists would come. So Dyersville, Iowa, put it on the map, kind of by Dubuque, Iowa, but very close with my dad's parents too. We'd go down there every Thanksgiving my entire life, until I was in college playing college football, and we'd be off into the playoffs into Thanksgiving. My family would still go down, but I'd stay up at school because we were still in the midst of football. But my entire growing up, my dad's parents, my grandparents would come on all of our spring break vacations with us. So we've traveled the world with them. And again, very, very close with them. They came to my sporting events too. They came to virtually all of my college football games, even though it was probably a 7-hour drive one way for them. And in fact, at one of my football games in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, my grandma was such a fanatical fan that she had a brain aneurysm cheering at one of my football games because she was so upset with the other team and their fans and what was going on in the field. and she had surgery and ended up being fine. But I mean, she was such a fanatical fan. Yeah, she literally had a brain aneurysm cheering at one of my football games, which was absolutely crazy. And she lived to be 99. She just was, I think, months from her 100th birthday when she passed away. And great, like you talk about the generations, just great longevity on that side of the family. Her dad lived to be 103. I think her mom was 99. Her brother is still alive. He's 102 and still lives independently alone in his house and still like golfs once a week at the Dyersville. I think Dyersville National is the name of the golf club. So yeah, great longevity in the family. She's 100% Irish, my grandma. And then so it kind of has that Irish wit and spunk and charm. And then my grandfather, my dad's dad, was just an amazing man. He, like you asked the question about what lessons did they pass down. I mean, his lesson would be, and there was a book recently, Everything's Figure Outable. And that's really, I mean, any problem he could figure it out. And he was very good with his hands and did all kinds of repair work on our house and all the neighbors' houses down in their neighborhood. And I mean, he was just very good with his hands in doing construction, even though he was a banker all growing up and was the president of the Dyersville National Bank for a period of time. He was the mayor of the town of Dyersville. And he was very active his entire life. He passed away at 82, and he was, I mean, the day he passed away, he was up on a ladder cleaning out the gutters for one of his neighbors, and had a heart attack and died. I mean, he was just very active to the very end of his life. And I don't know, I mean, great role models, grandparents on both sides, even though I didn't know my mom's dad very well, and very, very close to our family and impactful. And you talk about just happiness in life and just having all the generations together at Christmases and Thanksgivings and other events. Like that was my childhood growing up. Both sides were at virtually everything. So, which was such a blessing. And strong Catholic family, grandparents on both sides. And so Catholic faith was very important in everything. So it was, I don't know. I mean, a really blessed upbringing. I'm just very, very lucky.
That's awesome. So you don't remember very well your grandpa from your mom's side, or do you remember? Do you remember him?
Not really. No.
No. But what about you? You've extracted a lesson from your other grandpa, which is everything is figure outable. What about some lessons or warnings from the grandmas specifically?
I will say my mom's mom, I had a girlfriend at some point who my grandma just told my mom, she's so bold. Like that girl is so bold. She's not right for Kip. She's just too bold. So yeah, I mean, so maybe there was some warning there that careful, some of the girls out there, they're too bold, which, in grade school, who knows what that really means.
Grandmas do that.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I think they both wanted me to marry a good Catholic girl. I mean, that was very important on both sides. People that liked, again, I had a great family. Like if someone didn't like our family, that would be a red flag. And I think they told me that on a pretty consistent basis. When you go out there and you date someone or ultimately marry someone, I mean, you want someone that really fits in well with your family, and vice versa. When you're marrying someone, you really need to like their family and fit in well, because you're not just marrying the person, you're marrying the family. So that was a pretty consistent theme. And I mean, being kind to people, always treating people well. I mean, that was ingrained into me since I can remember. Just always just do the right thing and be nice to people, no matter what their background, no matter what their beliefs, how differing they might be in views with you. I mean, you can honestly debate them, but be nice to people and treat them well with dignity and respect. And, and then just kind of the general Midwestern values of That is 100% ingrained in me from my parents, from my grandparents, friends, parents, neighbors. Just do the right thing by people, treat people well, especially when nobody's looking. I mean, that's just so, so important.
Hmm. I think that's like a matter of choice. You can't teach anyone to be
Right.
kind to people. At some point,
Hmm.
you just choose that. Recently, saw an interview with someone, I forgot the name, but this father, he had produced two players in the NFL, one another professional in different sports. Like three of his sons are high level athletes, and somebody was asking him, "How did you do that?" And his answer was so simple. It's like, this is breeding. I make sure if you think about it, like if you have a expensive rare breed dog, you want to breed the dog if you are into that, with how they look at passports and bloodline and stuff like that. Why don't we do that with people? We underestimate the breeding aspect. So he was like, I made sure that first of all I picked a mother that was athletic and had the right mindset so we can have strong children, and I raised them in a way so they could marry strong women so they could produce great grandchildren. And I was like, wow, this is such a simple concept. We do it with animals, but sometimes we underestimate the importance of breeding between people,
I
like
heard that one before.
most. I know. I was like, I watched it like a few times, and I was like, wow, this is so simple and raw. But most people that are raised in a family that without strong values, with faith and without God, um, they kind of become victims of the world, and their first partner usually it's a big lesson, because if you just look at physical attraction, there's a huge chance it may not be the perfect fit, and if the intentions are wrong, it's going to backfire at some point. So so marrying somebody is a big deal, and this guy really simplified it for me. so,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
so just like you said, the families on both sides were decent people, and that's why there was a strong sense of family. So
Yeah.
what about, and I think you value family a lot,
Yes.
it feels like it. um, what about your parents? What is their profession? What are some lessons and warnings you extracted from them?
Hmm. I mean, so many. So my dad was, or still is, a lawyer, uh, and I mean, he's been right out of college, went to law school, has been a lawyer my entire life. Does like personal injury, medical malpractice law.
Mm,
Still practicing today. He's in his late 70s, but still practicing. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She was home with me my whole life. And I have a sister who's 15 years younger who was adopted from Paraguay in South America, and so she was home with her. So I mean, that's how I grew
she
up.
was
It was
she's a domestic engineer.
right. Well, in fact, it's so funny. She calls herself CEO of her own life. Like I usually like when I'm driving to meetings and stuff, I always call my mom and just chat with her and see what's going on. And I'm like, what are you up to today? And she's like, I'm doing my CEO pressures. She's like, I'm CEO of my own life, Kev.
It's a
So
tough
yeah,
job.
which is it's true. And she ran our house. I mean, my dad was super involved. I mean, he coached me in all my sports growing up, as a kid. And but my mom was there for everything. I mean, everything.
Would you say that your dad, as a coach, was more of a constructive coach that rewarded effort only when it was really present, or it was more of a flattering coach and motivated you with lots of great jobs even when you didn't give it your best?
That's a very good question. And the honest answer is both. I would say when he was coaching, like he would kind of switch in and out of both of those. Like when he was coaching, he was very hardcore. I mean, not over the top and not one of these crazy coaches that's like screaming at kids all the time, but he like would yell, and he got lots of technical fouls coaching my basketball games and kicked out of the gym a couple of times, which was kind of funny. It sounds worse than it was. Um, and with me, he was, super hard on me in the right way to get
Mhm.
better. But my parents like definitely instilled confidence in me and praised me a ton,
Yeah.
but not when I didn't, maybe even when I didn't necessarily deserve it, but not when I didn't work hard. Like I had to work hard and I always did. And they instilled that in me, to do your very best. And they didn't praise me if I wasn't working hard. But they definitely praised me. He praised me. Um, but it was after hard work and effort, even if we lost or I screwed something up, like he definitely would he was good at like giving the constructive criticism, or perhaps, after a loss, you know, especially when you like, take the last shot of the game and miss it and you lose, or just like real tough things that you take hard, like was positive then in the moment. And then, maybe the next day, okay, now let's look back at the game and look at what went wrong and how we can do better. And so I think he had a very good balance of all those types of things, of being, constructive, pushing me, setting goals, working towards those goals, but also giving praise and not consistently, being negative. I'll never forget one of my friends growing up that I played traveling like AAU basketball with, who was an extremely good athlete, went on to play D1 sports. And on our AAU team, was probably the best player on our team. And he did amazing in one game, but he missed one free throw. And I'll never forget after the game, like walking out with my dad, and his dad was absolutely screaming at him and berating this kid because he missed one free throw, even though he maybe had 32 or 35 points in the game,
Wow.
and we won, but he missed one free throw, and his dad just like that is like a memory burn. That's just like I will
Yeah.
never do that to my kids ever.
Perfectionist. Yeah.
So anyway,
Well,
my dad was my best friend. I mean, really, growing up. I mean, I really grew up as an only child, and then my sister, who's 15 years younger, really grew up as an only child. So I mean, I had tons of friends and loved my buddies, but he really was my best friend. We went to car shows. He coached our traveling baseball, so we traveled around, mostly the Midwest in the summer. But we went to car shows together. Air shows, the Oshkosh Air Show in Wisconsin, which I think is still the biggest air show for sure in North America. But we went to all sorts of things, just he and I, all sorts of road trips, and
mhm,
so he really was my best friend growing up.
that's awesome. He made you feel loved and accepted and comfortable with him.
Yeah.
That's so important as a father. And I coach my daughter, and I'm extremely competitive, which is not great. But winning, I love winning. I don't know if it's. I think I love winning more than I hate losing. I, I do hate losing a lot. Like I hate losing. And I coach my daughter soccer, and I'm very passionate about the game. I play 3 times a week, and sometimes I just can't. I can see, if she didn't have the best performance or something, I wouldn't say anything, but it's written on my face, and she would start crying, and she's like, "Oh, I did terrible," and I'll be like, "Nope, don't say that. There's always another game." But I just carry it on my sleeve a little bit because it's like my whole being is
Uh-huh.
burning. So and as a young father, I did use a lot of flattery, and it backfired. Flattery is not a very good tool. So now I'm transitioning to uh, not saying anything
Huh.
or asking some good questions and giving praise when it's really deserved. more like more like good effort, because there's always a next level. Good job. you know it's so important because the parents can damage um, the kids. Like when I was growing up playing soccer, my dad didn't come to any of the games, and he was busy, and he came to one game, and somebody told me, "Hey, your dad is in the stands," and I was just literally playing for him. It was an audience of one, and I ended
Uh-huh.
up scoring. And it was one of those movie moments where it was the winning goal, and everybody was lifting me up in the air. And it was like, wow, it's like a big core memory. And then we're walking back home from the stadium, and I was like, Dad, did you see how I scored a goal? And he was just so tough. He thought that, extreme criticism is going to, maybe that's what worked on him. It's going to really motivate me. And he said something like, "Oh man, you run like a girl out there. You can do so much better," or something like that. He said, and I'm like, man. And I stopped playing soccer on that day for like
Oh,
10 years. So it's a lesson for me, because it was my biggest passion. And just like you had that observation with that father, and you're like,
yeah,
I'll never do this to my kids one day when I have kids. I made that agreement.
yeah,
Uh, like, I'll never do this to my kids. We're good with my dad. I had forgiven him for that, and I understood that at that time, the tougher you grow up, the tougher you want to build your kids, and sometimes suffering is the only way, and you don't know any other way. It's just lack of education, like of life, and your teaching, your educational method is your learning method. And
uh-huh,
unless you go out of your way to be like, hey, is there a better way? You're just gonna do what's been done to you. so
right,
so that's how generational curse is passed, and that's how generational blessings are passed. But I'm a big fan of Ed Milet, obviously, and I
yeah,
strongly believe I'm the one for our generation that's gonna
yep,
disrupt. That's one of the things that I repeat myself every day.
yeah. I tell
Awesome.
you that. So my oldest son, um, who absolutely loved basketball. So we did a summer camp, which was best basketball camp I've ever seen, called PGC, Point Guard College. And we did it multiple summers. And it's people like, I think it starts when you're a sophomore in high school, all through college. And it's all former either professional basketball players or coaches, Division 1 college basketball former players or coaches, or all the coaches. I mean, it's amazing. But what, and they have it's all day long. It's like starts at like 7 in the morning and ends at like midnight every day for like a
Wow.
week straight. And you can stay overnight there or come home. Um, but they have sessions on the court, sessions of film, studying film, like from pro and D1 games, and then they have, I think it's on Thursday each week. They invite the parents to come in for a film session, so you get to watch that with the kids and experience it. And then the kids leave, and then the coaches talk to the parents.
Mm,
One of
so
the things they said, and this always has stuck with me. They're like, after they're like, think back when you played a sport, after the game, whether you did good or bad, when you're driving home from the game, what did your parents say to you? Or what do you say to your kids? And it's usually you're going through all the stuff in the game, all the things they did wrong, and all this kind of stuff. And they're like, during that time, just say to your son, this was all boys at the one he was at, just say, son, whatever their name is, I just want to tell you how much I love watching you play basketball.
yeah,
I love watching you play the sport of basketball. Leave them that. That's all you need to say on the drive home.
that's powerful.
And
That's
then maybe
powerful.
the next day or a couple days later, you can rehash the game. But like, just say, I just love watching you play. And like that will have such a profound effect on them. Um, so anyway, I started to do that for the rest of his high school and career. And yeah, I think that is such great advice.
Yeah, I think so too, because it's deep. It's the most foundational thing. Like,
Mhm.
if you
That's
don't, you wouldn't show up. So it comes
true.
down to this,
Yeah, you want them to do better. You want all these things to happen, but like you're there because you love watching them play. Like,
right?
so you're not. It's totally authentic, totally true. But it's like it's not even. I mean, it is positive reinforcement, but you're not telling them they did better than they did, or you're just saying, "I love watching you play."
Because it's a privilege. When I think about, I correct in my family. There's a bunch of words we can't say in the house. Just like negative affirmations that don't serve us well. Like, for example, we don't say I can't.
Uh huh.
You have to say the truth. Either I don't want to or I don't know how to. and then we
Uh-huh.
can deal with that. Another one is um, I should. We don't say I should or you should. It's kind of controlling. I hate this word should, because if you say I should go and work out right now and you don't,
Right.
then you kill your self-esteem. You're like, I'm a liar, I didn't show up.
Right.
But if you say I could go and work out, or I could go to the bar, now you're in a position of power. So you're making the decisions, you live with the consequences. It's more freedom this way. But a big one is when you replace I should with I get to. You know,
100%. Yes.
I get to watch you play basketball. This is such a privilege. It puts you in a position of gratitude. You you get to play basketball. There's some kids that are disabled, some kids that are not even able to play basketball, and I'm just so glad that you're even able to play the game.
Uh-huh.
That's a huge reward on its own, and it just
Yeah.
puts you in this constant position of gratitude.
Yeah.
So they're just a few of those words. Like my wife and I, we had a big arguments, not scandals, but like debates, passionate debates, because she uses the word struggle a lot. I'm really struggling with this curtains. I'm like, do you know what struggle means? It's like, that's a struggle. Don't exaggerate. All right. If you don't like the curtains, you don't like them, but don't say you're struggling with them.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people just abuse words. I'm a
Yeah.
wordsmith, crazy about words. And some people might think I'm a maniac, but and people can choose whatever they want to say, but I just believe words have so much power. You know,
Hmm.
I think that we're either prophets and we can bless people with our words, or we could curse them and create false beliefs that lead to shame and embarrassment. That's not true. It's a lie. So when you said that, I just love watching you play basketball. That's so profound. That's so deep, and that's what I'm gonna do from now on. Thanks to you
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. And it's so funny
So
because, like, oh, God, I'm sorry.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I'm just gonna say a couple things. One, like, I'm definitely better like as the coach than sitting in the stands and watching. Like, I can't help myself. Like, I yell and scream and yell at the refs and like
You be a coach anyways.
but I'm trying to remember what year it was. Maybe sophomore year of high school. The guy that had announced the basketball games forever, like, had moved on, and they asked me if I wanted to do it. So I did. And my wife was so happy because I had to just sit there and announce the game, and I couldn't yell at the refs or anything. So she was so happy with that, and it worked. I mean, it's true. I mean, like, I had those urges, but just announcing the game. And then now my daughter, who's our youngest, was playing club soccer this summer. And she didn't really get to do any traveling stuff because the boys did it so much, and I kind of feel bad. And she's probably the best athlete of our three kids. But now it's like all of that screaming at the refs and getting so upset is just like out of me. Like, so I just sit there and watch her play soccer, and her team is really good, and she's extraordinarily good. But I just, without any of the angst, I just sit there and enjoy it and watch, and it's so much fun. And I don't say a word to the refs or anybody. All the other parents are like screaming and yelling. Maybe that's firstborn, lastborn, but it's so enjoyable just to sit there and watch her play soccer and watch her team, and just I knew nothing about soccer, just like the flow of the game, and like I've learned so much. I mean, I watched Ted Lasso, which taught me a lot about soccer. I mean,
I
I
stopped
was
watching after
yeah,
the second season. It got a little too gay for me, so I stopped
yeah, I
watching.
was like learning soccer or proper football as Ted was learning it. But it's just so different now, just watching her play with like just enjoying it with zero stress or angst. I don't know, it's so much fun.
You know, I'm an immigrant, so I've always loved soccer, and my friends that grew up with baseball and football, and they always made fun of soccer. Like it's just a bunch of dudes running in their underwear. It's a full body workout. It's a tough sport.
It's unbelievable. Yeah,
It's heavy on
it's
every single muscle. You literally include the entire body. It's kind of like basketball,
yeah.
but um,
And there's a reason it's
You
called the beautiful game, and it's like it's the world's sport. I mean,
yeah.
it's like I've gained such an appreciation for soccer, and like my oldest son got heavy into Premier League, so we watch all that, and now we love
What team
Messi.
is he supporting?
So we got the MLS pass. We're watching Messi and Inter Miami, all their games, my daughter and I, and it's so much fun. Like
Yeah.
really good soccer is so much fun to watch.
Oh yeah. Well, Ted Lasso, it's a great show. Like I said, I watched the first 2 seasons, and then in the third season, they started to force
Yeah,
this.
it got a little weird. Yeah, that stunk.
Like my
That's
wife and I are watching, like, whoa, what's going on here? You gotta warn us before you start showing stuff
and
like that.
totally unnecessarily, you know?
Like it's so much in your face. Like, gotcha. We're like,
Yeah,
ooh, I can't unsee that anymore.
yeah. I mean, like, I love Roy Kent. I think that dude is the best.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's
Boy, whistle.
he's he is. There was a guy in Manchester United back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, Roy Keane.
Right. Yeah, that's
He's
him.
going after the same character.
Totally. And then
Great.
Jamie Tart after the other dude. Yeah, I mean, and I love Keely. And
Yeah.
that was totally unnecessary to do that in season 3. Like, she's so much fun and awesome. You do not need to do that with her.
Yeah, I love the fact that uh, coaching, what they're showing with this show is so deep that coaching is not about skill.
Right.
It's really everybody knows how to play the game, and every player wants to increase their skill level. But it's so much more mental, and that's
Yeah.
Ted Lasso's gift. Being able
Yeah.
to motivate these guys and get them to play. There was a coach, Felipe Scolari. He was the coach of Brazil when they won the World Cup, and he goes, "I'm going into the locker room." And he's like, I see Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Roberto Carlos, Rivaldo. And I'm like, am I supposed to teach these guys how to play soccer? Those are like the greatest players in the world.
Yeah.
And he was like, my role is just to make sure their mind is straight and they're performing. And it's incredible show because that's what it shows. You could be the greatest skill guy, but if you can't motivate your team, they're gonna fall. They're gonna
Yeah.
no matter how brilliant they are. And I'm like, that's a great show. Before they start doing the
Yeah.
LGBT stuff, I fell off the wagon. I think it's 4 seasons. Is it 4 seasons?
I think it's just 3.
3? Okay, yeah. We stopped watching on the third season.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go back to it. So, what is the first conscious moment you remember in your life? When did you first realize, "Wow, I exist. Here I am. What am I? What am I doing? What's my purpose?" You remember how
Wow.
old you were?
Oh, the honest answer is I don't know.
Your
My
first memory.
first memory. Wow. That is a really, really good question. And I've not thought about that. I would say it's probably like, yeah. I mean, it's probably hanging out with my mom, like running her errands with her. Like that's probably the thing that comes to mind. Like again, in the summer when I wasn't in school, like I basically just was with her all day. We would run errands and again pick up my grandma and do her groceries and
How old do you think you are in your first memory?
I don't know, 5 maybe 4. I don't know. There's someone who's just telling me someone on a podcast said they whoever this was could remember their birth. Like I don't know about that.
That's a
It's
little too much. But the average person remembers something from 2, 3 years old. Um,
I don't
Usually,
know.
people with emotional trauma, abused children, they go a little bit later in age because they've erased some of those moments.
Yeah.
You know how serial killers, they have a pattern. Uh, not that you are, but the pattern between serial killers is their parents left them alone in the crib, and
Huh.
they cried and they cried and they cried, and that's like near death experience for babies because they're like they could die from just not being attended to. They kind of have that instinct. They're like, "Oh, I'm here. I can't walk. I can't. eat. I can't breathe. Like people need to take care of me. They have that instinct, and I've been crying for an hour and nobody's coming to get me.
Uh-huh.
So I guess I'm gonna die. So they have this near death experience like every day. And in the 80s, there was some idiot that told moms this is the way to get your kid to, you know,
Sleep.
be a tough kid. And they just let him cry. He's gonna fall asleep at some point, which they did out of exhaustion. They fell asleep, but then they become these ruthless sociopaths or psychopaths. Like nobody loves me anyway, so I'm just gonna start whacking people. And that's like the story of almost every serial killer when they go through like the assessment
Huh.
when they're in the facility. They're like,
I've not heard that.
my
That's
parents
wild.
don't love me. So I've interviewed a lot of people, and that's a question I ask everyone. And like the people that have been through abuse, um, they say, yeah, the first memory is like when I was 7. They try
Uh-huh.
to erase all
Yeah.
these things. But for you, you don't remember yourself being like in the crib or like hanging out like first time when you were self-aware. You're like, I exist. I mean, I'm not gonna force memories on you. It's your life, it's your memories. But if you remember running errands with your mom, I'll take that.
I mean, I don't. I mean, but again, I've not spent any time like focused on trying to remember back that far. I'm seriously so focused on like forward
Yeah.
and enjoying the moment. Like my wife is always looking back and talking about memories, and she probably could have memories way back there. I and I'm sure if I had focused effort on trying to think of memories, after a week, maybe I could. But I've never really tried to. No one's ever asked me that question. I've never tried to think about it.
It's okay.
So I don't know. I'm sure
I
it's
just
there
I
somewhere.
I've had an experience. I think I was like 2.5, and I remember consciously telling myself, I will remember this moment. This is the first moment of existence for me. Like
Wow.
I exist, and this is the first moment, so I'll remember this for the rest of my life. So that's why I asked this question. It's like fascinating to me too.
You were anchoring it like Ed. You're anchoring the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
It too.
So tell me about high school. What were some of the highlights? Were you a popular kid? Were you a bully? Were you bullied? Did you play sports? How was prom? Tell me about high school. Was it a good experience overall?
I loved high school. It was so much fun. I mean, I loved college more, but I loved high school. I had a great high school experience. I went to Cretin-Derham Hall, which I mean was a very heavy. I mean, a Catholic school, but very sports focused. So we have a lot of professional athletes that have come out of Cretin, like Joe Mauer, who played for the Twins. He was a couple years behind me. Matt Burke, who played for the Minnesota Vikings, and then he won a Super Bowl.
Mm,
Uh, Chris Winkie, who was quarterback for Florida State, and then he was a pro quarterback in NFL. Paul Molitor, who played for the, I mean, it goes on and on. Michael Phelps. I mean, not Michael Phelps, Michael Floyd, tons of pro athletes. So like very sports focused. And I played football, basketball, and baseball at Cretin. So much fun. Um, and like I had really good friends. I was definitely one of those people that had a bunch of different friend groups.
mhm,
A lot of my friends from grade school, like from kindergarten, up into high school, went to high school with me. But then lots of kids from other schools, but they were the schools we played sports against. So we already kind of knew some of those kids, and then other new kids came in. Um, yeah, but I had a great high school experience. Lots of fun. We had really good, football teams, basketball, baseball. We went to state in all the sports and had lots of success and lots of fun, great memories, and really good friends. And just a really good kind of community around our school, um, which was in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is kind of a big small town. I mean, it's the Twin Cities are Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minneapolis is much more urban and cosmopolitan. St. Paul is much
mhm.
more like a small town, but it's big where everyone knows everybody, but not quite everybody. Um, yeah, and it was really really a great experience. They had fabulous teachers, really good education. Um, a lot of fun. I was not a bully. Again, my mom particularly always, just kind of beat it into me just to be nice to people. So I was nice to people from all different groups, and never, just like, it was like you talk about you consciously remembering something when you were two. Like, I consciously had the thought, like, be nice to this person now, because you're going to come back in 20 years to your reunion, and like they'll remember you were nice to them and not mean.
Yeah.
So like I just kind of always had that, especially someone that was marginalized, or you could just tell like they didn't have a ton of friends, or people weren't nice to them. Like, I went out of my way to like be extra nice to those people. Um, yeah, but again, lots of different friend groups, and just kind of floated around. I mean, usually, during football season, I hung out with the football guys. Then basketball season, hung out with the basketball guys. And then baseball season, hung out with the baseball people. Um,
What sport do you think you were the best at?
it's a really good question. So I played football in college. So probably football.
What
My
position?
so in high school, I was a running back and a middle linebacker. And then in college, I was a tailback, so a running back.
Mhm.
Um, I always thought if if I was 6'7", I had in my head that I could play in the NBA. Like, I think basketball is probably my favorite. It was so, I just love basketball. But I love football too. But I just felt like basketball you could play for a long time, and yeah. But is probably it. And I planned on playing football, basketball, and baseball in college too, because I went to a Division III school. But our football season went in, because we had a good team. We went into the basketball season with playoffs, so basketball really wasn't an option. And then my freshman year, I was trying out for baseball, and then the track coach approached me to run track. And then I was kind of doing baseball tryouts and track tryouts at the same time, and then just kind of went back and forth my freshman year and decided, no, I'd rather get faster for football than just be hitting in the batting cage all winter. So I ended up doing indoor and outdoor track in college along with football, and it definitely helped. I mean, I was definitely not the fastest on the track team, but it really helped improve my speed for football. And
Oh,
I met a totally different group of people, that were track and runners that I would have ever met in college, and got to know them. And that was really a blessing too. It was a lot of fun.
and what crew did you join as far as culture? Like, what music were you into, or fashion, or did you have a mohawk?
I was definitely in high school, like R&B and rap. I mean, like NWA. I mean, like hardcore gangster rap.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I was like the white kid listening to all that stuff.
Who are
I
the top three rappers in your list?
Back then.
Well, even now, I'm sure that you probably appreciate those guys more than the mumbling new guys.
Yeah, it's with my kids, I still try to. I don't know.
Top three of all time.
I like music now. It was funny. I actually saw a clip of like from Family Feud, like who's the top rappers of all time, and it was interesting, like who people had said. I mean, I love Snoop. I love Dr. Dre. I loved Easy E. Okay, I mean,
Snoop
I mean,
Loop.
yeah, LL Cool J was great. I mean, Montel Jordan, like my freshman year of college, every morning I woke up, my alarm was, "This is how we do it." Like
Oh
that
yeah.
song at full blast on my radio. I don't know, I liked all of it. I like, it was almost like if the parental advisory warning was on the case, back then, it's like those are the ones you wanted to buy.
Yeah.
So I probably listened to stuff I shouldn't have. And I remember going on baseball trips, and we'd be in the back, and someone would have like a boom box, and we'd be playing this horrible music, and like the coaches would stop the bus and come back and say, "You guys cannot be playing that, like blasting across the bus." I liked dance music, you know. So I don't know, but and
90s.
and, and then I got to college, I got introduced to country, and I love country music now. So now I really like kind of all genres, other than like hardcore, heavy, like screaming metal. But like
Skin.
AC/DC in high school, I mean, lots
You
of
don't
lots.
appreciate you don't appreciate Scandinavian death metal?
I don't. I stay away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like, it's a different energy. I think the gangster rap, it was like the first genre that allowed kids to speak up, to share their feelings,
Yeah.
like for real, what's going on in their life. So we definitely related to the stories and some of the things that the struggles. Plus, the swearing was a big deal during those
That
years. It
was,
was like
and now it's like nothing. Like people are swearing in the boardroom. I mean, it's just so different now.
you hear it and you're like, "What did you just say? F
I
the
know.
police."
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So
Get
yeah.
down.
But I mean, I listened to more normal, good music too back then. But I liked dance music.
90s dance music.
Yeah, like all day. I mean, like even now I like EDM, and like when I work out, I listen to like dance music, like
The
pounding.
German bands were big back in the day. I don't know if they were
Yeah,
popular here. Most of this 90s dance music comes from Germany.
yeah, yeah.
America, like Snap, I got the power.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know.
So
Yeah, it's
you
funny to
kind
remember this. Like high school, I can remember. Like
yeah.
2 years old and being in the crib, no, but high school, I can definitely like that. That comes back to me pretty quick.
Do you tell me about your first love?
Ooh, yeah. So my first girlfriend was in sixth grade. So I dated her from sixth grade into high school, and she was my like my best friend growing up, and she was actually on my little league baseball team. She was the one girl on our team, and she was on. I mentioned the when my dad got technicals and kicked out of the basketball game. She was actually I played in a co-ed league when I was little, and she was on my team. And I think like the some big kid from the other team like ran over her,
Mm.
and then that's when my dad lost it and like went nuts and then got kicked out. Um, yeah, but so probably sixth grade was my first girlfriend. I mean, like that's love at that level. Like, but then I had a high school girlfriend that I dated for a few years. That was probably my first like real love. Um,
You still staying in touch with those girls?
so my first girlfriend from sixth grade, yes, she's still a really good fan, and we're really good family friends. My high school girlfriend that was really my first love, no. So I dated her like junior, senior year, and then a little bit my freshman year of college. She was a year younger. Um, but no, I don't. I see she has a big family. I see a lot of her relatives around, but I have not kept in touch with her since then.
You
There's some
broke
good
up.
stuff that went on there at the end, but I think she kind of like. I mean, she's married and has kids, but I think they moved away and just have a quiet life somewhere. So I know I've not kept up with her.
You broke up with her?
I don't
Was
know.
it a tough,
She
heartbreaking
probably
love?
dumped me. I don't know. I don't even remember. I think I think she got mad at me for something. I don't know. It's like those on again, off agains. Like, and
Mhm.
it's like, what? How did it really end? I don't know. I'll take the L and say she dumped me.
Good, good, good.
Ultimately,
That's brave.
yeah.
Tell me, what are the three biggest challenges you had to overcome in your life, and prioritize them from the hardest to the least hardest? But those are the three moments where you were close to giving up and you felt like it's the hardest time of your life.
Dang. Um, I will say the hardest. I don't know. I never felt
Three
like I was.
moments of adversity. Usually those are the moments that are worth sharing. We achieve great things
Yeah.
only when we're either forced to or put in a
Right.
situation where we have to bring something that we haven't brought before.
Yeah.
Like
I'll say
go
the.
past that point of, oh, I've never done this before.
Yeah. I mean, I'll get to launching my company. Like that was the hardest decision I ever made. And looking back, it was super easy now. I've made way harder ones. But I'll get to that. I'd say the first time I really had a lens of the idea that like if you tell a boy like if a father is as he should be, like there's no man in your life that wants you to do better than him except for your father. I think
Mhm.
that's 100% true. And
Yeah.
the first time I really realized that, I was working in commercial real estate. And I was working with some guys that were friends, but older and mentors. And the first time I realized they were way more interested in themselves than me.
Mm.
Because I always thought people just had your goodwill,
Right.
and that's super naive. But I brought in the biggest client for our team and the second biggest client in the company. Like I won that business. And now looking back at me, it's totally my fault. I was, young and naive and like, so I'm not blaming them or this isn't a pity party, but I brought in like what ultimately became the second biggest client in our office in our company. And they paid me a little bit on our first deal and zero on the rest of the deals. And these guys made so much money off this client, for our team. And again, it's my fault. I should have not just like trusted they would treat me fairly.
Well, it's
Uh,
not your fault. It was a great lesson.
right. But it is a lesson learned. Like,
Right.
and the other flip of that lesson is I will never do that to my people. Like I will never treat them I like I always tell people like when we have like because we're in a commission based business, and if ever there's like a question on money, and our stuff, I try to keep our stuff super straightforward, so there really aren't issues. But if there is, I will always be over generous to the other person and like give them more than they're technically entitled to, so they never feel like they've been cheated or treated unfairly around money ever. And it really goes back to that
Yeah.
moment. And I've had other moments beyond that where people were goofy about money, but I will just never do that to my team because I never want them to feel they were treated unfairly around money. But
Yeah.
these guys made so much money and got so wealthy off this client that I brought in, and I got like a pittance. And again, I am taking full responsibility for the fact I didn't advocate for myself and I let that happen. But that was definitely a lesson. Um, and then maybe another one. I mean, right before I launched my company, I was working at another recruiting firm, and I was the second biggest producer in the company after one of the founders. And after like multiple years of being the second biggest producer, we kind of had our, one-on-one, strategy, how are things going, meeting with the two owners. And I just brought up the idea of, hey, I've been the second biggest producer for 3 years in a row or whatever it was. Could we consider changing the commission structure a little bit to be a little bit more beneficial for me? And one of the owners, who was the number one producer, who I absolutely love, I mean, an awesome guy, he just blew up at me, just absolutely lost it and got so angry. And now looking back, maybe empathy, there was something else going on that day or in life.
Yeah.
But that was another thing. Like, look, I have produced for you. Like I've done the work and created the results before I'm asking for anything. And I'm not even asking for anything yet. I'm just like, can we open up a conversation about, maybe doing something on the commission structure? And that was a trigger that like, I need to go like this. I can't stay here anymore. And then ultimately I
Yeah.
launched my own firm, which again that was probably the hardest decision I ever made, was to launch my own firm, and just bet on myself and go for it. But ultimately looking back, I mean, that's nothing compared to other things I've had to do running our company. But one of the best decisions I've ever made in my entire life, betting on myself and launching our firm, and then ultimately the whole world shifts. Now you're motivated in a different way. Before
Mhm.
I'm working my butt off, making other people wealthy. Now I'm doing it directly for myself. So it's different to like stay up till 2 in the morning or 3 working your butt off because you're reaping the rewards directly. Um, and it just shifts your mindset on like, yes, everything is from God and the Lord, but like here on earth, I can control my own destiny. I get to decide my decisions in every aspect of life. God willing, I'm in control. Maybe I make the wrong choice and bad things happen, but like I'm choosing.
Yeah.
Um, and then ultimately, I started out my firm, it was just me, and then I've added people and we've grown. And now it's like Now to be a great leader, I need to make other great leaders,
Hmm.
not just lead people. Like I want to make my people great leaders, and it's so rewarding and so fulfilling.
Yeah.
Um, but again, going back to your question, I mean, really being disappointed by people that I really trusted, and those are both like money things, but just if nothing else, just that I will never do that to somebody. Like
Yeah.
if someone puts their trust in me, I'm not gonna cheat them or or take advantage or even give the perception to them that they're not being treated fairly.
Yeah.
Like I want it to be so far the other way that they don't even question that.
What's the third one?
Third what?
The third moment of adversity
Oh,
or biggest challenge.
um, let's think. I don't know. I mean, we've been pretty lucky that we've had a lot of health in our family. So both my parents and my wife's parents are in good health. So we haven't dealt with any of that kind of stuff yet. Because I was just on another podcast talking about that. This guy started a business to help working people that are caring for people that are having health issues. I don't know. I mean, I have my sister who's 15 years younger has had some struggles with things, so kind of dealing with that and more just kind of watching how my parents have dealt with that has
Hmm.
been frustrating. Um, but my sister's doing much better now. I mean, but just the whole journey and just like been almost like silence. Like when I spoke up about things or just again gave some ideas, and maybe I did it too harshly, but just getting like stonewalled and just looking at the way they raised me and treated me versus her, it's like night and day, totally different.
What's the main difference?
I feel like to go back to your question way back of like how did my dad coach me or the positive rewards or critiques. Like I think like I had huge expectations on me my whole life,
Hmm.
but they were super positive. I feel, and again, I was out of the house because I was off in college, and she kind of grew up as an only child. But it feels like she had no expectations, and they just unreasonably praised her or just ignored, or I don't know what. Like ever since she was a little kid. So, and I'm sure she felt like, well, people have no expectations of me, so I have nothing to like
It created some
compare
entitlement.
to. Yeah, what's that?
It created some entitlement.
Entitlement, lack of motivation,
Maybe they felt.
lack of
Uh,
self worth. I mean, it's sad.
maybe they felt that you were more privileged, and she was because she was adopted, right? She's from
Yep.
a different country.
Yeah.
So maybe it was out of compassion, out of love. They felt like she deserves an easier life,
I'm sure you're right.
but it
Yes.
but it backfired.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody wants, like you said, expectations, so they could have something to fight for.
Right.
So out of all the three things, you need to be a servant first before you become a leader, for the sake of empathy. And I think those were all positive. You got screwed with a little bit of money. That's okay. God will bless you with way more. And you learned about being, in a moment where you were supposed to be celebrated, you were not only nearly tolerated, but you felt like you're not even wanted there. Like, what is your problem? I'm producing here, and I'm not asking for anything unreasonable, and you're blowing up on me. So I think both of those could be the reason why you're doing what you're doing now, with this incredible clarity on what a good leader has to be. So you got to be grateful for those two moments. I got
Sure.
When I first started selling cars, it was my dream, and I had a similar experience. I sold my first car, was I sold a Maybach, and the commission was supposed to be 30,000. and the guy paid me $300. And I was like,
What?
"Are you kidding me? Like, we just literally had this conversation, and you gave me this car as an example, and that's why I focused on selling this car, and now you're gonna give me." And he was like, "Yeah, you're gonna learn a lesson," and I did learn a lesson. I left, Then when I started my own business, I remember pursuing a guy to send his team to one of my workshops, and he kept lying to me, come pick up your check on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. And I must have gone like 10 times. Not being naive, maybe a little bit of naive, like it was my first experience, but also persistent. And then he didn't show up. He said finally the lie was like, "We're gonna show up and I'll have the check in my hand at the workshop." And they didn't show up. And I called him and he was like, "Whoop, you're learning a lesson." So I heard the same thing again. "This is a lesson for you, a gift for your new business." And I'm like, wow, people in business are brutal. It's a brutal war. And it's a very easy way to make a difference. It's a big contrast. Like most of these guys are assholes. So if I can be the opposite, I will
Right.
be fortunate with the right team. And I know how it's not an extra mile, it's an extra inch to be a great
Mhm.
leader.
Yes.
Those are simple things. Like the guy's producing for you. Why wouldn't you
Right.
celebrate him and reward him?
Yeah. It's
It's so hard to find a good producer. It's insanely hard. And
yeah.
I love that these moments led you to become such a great leader, and for these things to be your core values. Like everybody gets compensated. We'll never have a money argument,
Right.
and it's not our main purpose. Money is not a big deal here. You get paid.
Right.
So I noticed that you study law. I also studied law. My
Uh-huh.
dream was to be a soccer player. My mom got rid of that dream early on in my life. Said no way. Then I really wanted to be an actor, but
Oh,
actors weren't getting paid very well. It's a really small percentage of them that actually make it. Um, and I became a lawyer. I mean, I didn't become. I went to law school, and I went to experimental law school, high school that was focused on studying law, and then I
really?
went to the university. So I was going to be a lawyer, but I dropped out um, in the second year. And for me, I felt really limited. Going into a courtroom. I was probably going to be a lawyer. I wasn't going to be a judge or prosecutor. So I was definitely going to be a lawyer, most likely a criminal lawyer.
Ooh.
But um, I felt limited. Having I had problems with authority. People telling me what to do, how to do
yeah.
it. Freedom is my core value. Like freedom.
Uh-huh.
I can't breathe if there's someone
Yes.
on the way to freedom. And so I decided to get into sales, which is very similar to you know acting and being a lawyer. You always have to present your case and be proactive and
Yeah.
do good research and know the data. And and I love sales. The world of sales has been my passion. Building my own world, it's an opportunity. So I'm curious, how did you, because you went to law school, right?
Yes. Yep.
How did you end up not practicing law and becoming a recruiter? Maybe what I was thinking is those deep hurts, because of your character, you were hurt from those two occasions,
Yeah.
made you an advocate of people, like connecting right employers with the right candidates, and also becoming their advocate and protecting them. So maybe that's what led you to headhunting, because it wasn't like something you chose when you were a kid in
Right.
high school. What would you like to do when you grow up? Headhunting was probably not in your top five.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I didn't even know really what
But
it was.
y- your experience led you to that purpose, and you found your mission there. You're like, I'm
uh-huh.
not gonna allow people to discriminate and mistreat good good candidates. And I mean, that's just my guessing, so I'll let you explain.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, so out of college, I went to law school, and then I practiced corporate mergers and acquisitions and commercial real estate, transactional law. So buying and selling companies, buying and selling real estate, and did that for a number of years.
Oh, you did that. Okay.
So
So
yes, I practiced for a number of years, and I what I liked was putting the deals together. Like I loved that, and I love business development, so sales, but I didn't get to do that very much. And I went to the our managing partner of our firm, the head of our real estate practice, and had this conversation. And they're both like, I've been practicing for 25 years or 30 years, and every once in a while at the firm we get to put the deal together, but usually the decision makers, the entrepreneurs have put the deal together, and then they come to the law firm and say, okay, here's the deal, draft the documents to make it happen, or solve these problems as we're going to closing. And so that was one thing. And then doing transactional law, it's hourly billing, which sucks. And the only way to make more money is to either bill more hours. There's only 24 hours in a day, or charge more per hour. And there's an upper limit to what people are reasonably willing to pay for an hour.
yeah,
Uh,
so
and
there's
so
a
I
cap.
just, well, yeah, there's a cap. So then I started to talk to a bunch of mentors, including our, managing partner and so forth. And I like the real estate stuff. So I had someone at CB Richard Ellis, which is where I ultimately went to, who had practiced law for a number of years, but had been doing real estate for a number of years. Um, and then ended up going there. And then there was another person out in California that was coming back to the Twin Cities. So we put a team together. And so I did corporate real estate. So essentially representing companies that were users of real estate, and doing it all. So mostly negotiating leases, buying, selling buildings for companies if they owned the real estate for their own operations, not to be a landlord, not to be an investor. So mostly dealing with the C-suite, CEO of a company, CFO, about
Hmm.
doing the real estate. And did that for many years, and then met some people in the executive search business to refer business back and forth. And then they recruited me for like a year to come join them. And then I finally did. But from day one, like I just turned around to my real estate clients. Instead of doing real estate, started doing executive search locally and around the country. But all my work was my own. I won all my own work. I executed it. Um, the firm I was at didn't have a big name. Like CB Richard Ellis, the real estate company I was at, is the biggest commercial real estate company in the world. So that opened doors, just the name, when I would do business development.
Yeah.
Versus our search firm, nobody had ever heard of them until I introduced myself. So then, after a couple of years in the story I described, I launched my own firm. And then from day one, we were, a national executive recruiting firm. And then we've grown from there and have people in Minnesota, Texas, Nashville, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and do work all around the country. And our focus really is executive C-level leadership for companies of all shapes and sizes, public companies, private equity firms, venture capital firms, family offices, but it's all typically C-level leadership roles. So lots of CEO searches, CFOs, COOs, chief technology officers, and so forth. And I love it. It's so much fun. And
Do
when I
you
made the switch, what's that?
go ahead? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, when I made the switch, it was so different. Like initially, it was my same clients, but the conversation was totally different from real estate to executive search. It was much less stiff and stuffy and professional. People let their guard down. It was much more personal. Um, and I loved it. It's just such a better fit personality wise for me. And I think people are glad to talk to you.
Yeah.
Like everybody we call is glad to talk to you. And I think in the back of their head, they're like, well, I'm going to be nice to Kip because maybe at some point I'm going to want a new CEO role or CFO role. Um, Whereas doing real estate, I mean, people are, it's just a different feel. It was like hardcore sales where it's
Yeah.
a good million no's till you get to a yes. Not that we don't have that in our business too, but it's and to talk about like not growing up wanting to be a recruiter. Again, I never even heard of that. But when I was at CB Richard Ellis, I was getting recruiters because I was, the high performers, and I was the rookie of the year my first year. Um, So I would get recruiters calling me, and I honestly thought, because CBRE was so big and had so much resources, that they were hiring recruiters just to test my loyalty. So I would never talk to them. I wouldn't even return their calls. If they got me on the phone, I would just get off. Um, and it's so funny. Then I ultimately did that. And then what I found was the lower level people, like that's kind of the reaction you get. But the higher you go up in companies, I mean, they're more used to using or dealing with executive recruiters. They probably got their last role from a recruiter. So it's almost easier the higher you go up than lower level people. So that was
I
kind of a
think
fun.
it's a compliment. If you look at sports, when you're recruited by better teams or bigger teams, it gives you leverage to renegotiate your deal. If you really want to stay,
Yeah.
you can either match this, or sometimes it just proves your loyalty, um, and your true intentions if you turn it
Yeah.
down, even though. So it create. I think it's all positive. I mean,
Yeah. I
uh,
will say this, if you, we tell this to candidates, like if they go through the process with us to come join our client, and then they go back to, you're always going to get a counter offer from your existing employer. But if you tell the company you're at, hey, I got this offer, I'm leaving, and they counter and you take it, it's only a matter of time. All you're doing is giving them enough time to find your replacement, because they will never trust you again.
you don't think so?
Never. No. And that, which is different than, hey, you know, like let's say you're the CEO and I tell you, hey, this company's been recruiting me. Here's what they're offering. Um, I'd love to, up our deal here. Yeah, yeah. That's different than, hey, Velco, I'm leaving. I'm accepting this offer over here, and then you come and give me a different offer, and I come back. Oh, yeah, I guess I'll stay. So those are two different things. But if you're out the door and then you take a counter, in 18 months, like 90, close to 90% of people will be gone. Like they will
Like
have
your
your,
relationship is at this point, relationship is broken at this point.
yeah, they'll never trust you ever again.
The
Because,
loyalty is gone.
right.
So when we also have a recruiting agency, we don't operate on such high level, and we kind of mostly serve our clients, so we don't really advertise too much, because it's hard work. It's a lot of work. And when I interview candidates that are still employed, I go really deep. I'm like, you realize that you're cheating on your employer right now. And they're like, yeah. And I usually tell them, because one of the questions I asked is, does your employer know that you're here on this interview? And most of the people would say no. So I'm like, that's kind of like cheating. Like, if this was your marriage, you're with another person in a restaurant right now, considering starting an affair. So, and I kind of want to see, are they on their way out? Are they just greedy? Is it ego? I want to know their intention. You know what I mean? And then when they like the offer and they say, I want to get started, but I want to give my employer 2 weeks notice, or 30 days notice. And I'm like, well, employers don't, when they fire you, they say, clean up your shit and get the hell out of my office. They don't say, look, Kip, I know you got a family, you got 3 kids. We're gonna let you go, but for the next 30 days, we'll keep paying you, what you've always gotten paid, and we'll make this a very smooth transition. We're gonna call some employers and put a good word for you, so make sure you don't have any gaps. They never do that. Never. So I'm like, where is that loyalty coming from? If there is no loyalty anymore, like, you're here, you're in the restaurant dating another person, considering going to a hotel room, and you want to give them 2 weeks, like, that just doesn't speak well for your character. And they're like very confused. They're like, I'm doing the right thing. And I'm like, your employer could react in three possible ways. The first way would be, you don't need to be here for the next 2 weeks. Just get the hell out right now. Like, that means you were hanging on a piece of hair. anyways. You were going to get fired if you didn't quit. The second reaction could be them fighting for you and be like, hey, what do I got to do to keep you around? We need you. I can match their offer, which means they've always seen your value, but they got away without paying you
Yep,
for the right.
exactly.
So you were way more valuable than what they were paying you, and they were not very ethical with you. They didn't recognize you, and that's why you're here. And you might be a good character, but these 2 weeks is not going to make a big difference. And the third employer is going to protect the relationship, number one. And they might say, look, I love you. I've always prayed for this moment to never come, and I think you are worthy of better future and a better terms, and you'll be celebrated wherever you go. Let's keep our friendship, keep our relationship, and if it doesn't work out, our door is always open for you. You're always going to be accepted. You're kind of like you go out to college, but your mom keeps your room the same way you
Uh-huh.
left
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, which reaction do you think your employer is going to have? And a lot of them will be like, probably going to be the first one, get the hell out, or probably when they tell me it's going to be the second one, then I'm like, well, at this point, I'm not going to make you an offer, and I suggest you go and renegotiate your terms, and just don't worry about this opportunity. We're not a good fit, so I reject them.
Uh-huh.
And do you experience similar stuff?
I mean, our roles are pretty high level and people are super professional. And I mean,
They have contracts and stuff.
like a CFO couldn't just leave on a dime like that, or a
Yeah.
CEO. Like it doesn't work like that. And I mean, their reputation is important to them, and they're not going to like leave their. And again, our we're doing true headhunting. So the people that we recruit are fully engaged at their company. They love what they're doing. They're not even thinking about leaving. They're rock stars. We just come along with a better opportunity for one reason or another, and then that's why they're talking. Um,
So what's
so
your what's your opening question, or how do you engage with them? Do you kind of like feel the temperature? Be like, are you happy? Like, what do you? How do you approach them as a
yeah,
headhunter?
I mean it's. I mean they are happy. I mean 99.9% of the people we recruit and ultimately place were never thinking about leaving. They loved what they were doing. And the one exception is we do a fair amount with private equity portfolio companies, venture capital, um, and family office. So maybe they had an exit, they just sold the company. Now they're looking for their next C-level role. But yeah, we just are an extension of our client's brand, and we just tell our client's story to people. And if they're interested, we just give them, it's an information sale. Give them enough information to take the next step and the next step and the next step. Because our process is pretty rigorous for a candidate to go through. So they have to be super serious to do it. But we're
Hmm.
not, it's like a good coach that self motivates people instead of telling them what to do. Um, you know, they're the candidates driving themselves to the process. It's not us dragging them through. So it's just giving them enough information to again take the next step, and there's a million different reasons why one opportunity is a better fit than another for somebody.
Right.
Usually I say like A player rock star people, it isn't really about money. They want to be challenged, they want to be pushed, they want to continue to grow,
Yeah.
and they love what they're doing now, but this is an opportunity to learn something totally new or just push the boundaries of their capabilities, and they're hungry for that.
Or join a vision or a
Right,
mission.
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So yeah,
How do
it's different
you
for
how do you
everybody.
get paid? Do you charge them a flat fee, or do you have like a percentage of their?
It's usually a percentage of their first year compensation.
Yeah.
But I'm entrepreneurial. We're entrepreneurial. We can get super creative with clients, but the typical way is it's just a percentage of their first year guaranteed comp.
Do you have to guarantee that they stay? Are you involved in their development, and whether or not do you get paid if they get fired?
Yeah. So we again for high level roles, I mean, we have a guarantee We've never had to use it. We've never had anybody
Right.
leave. Um, and we have like an executive coaching and training program that
For them.
if our clients want that we provide, to continue to develop them and so that's an offering that we have, this, separate from the search. And some clients want that, some clients don't. But yeah, we always guarantee our candidates. But again, we've never had to use it.
So you guarantee a replacement?
Yeah, we usually guarantee them for a year. If for no matter what reason they leave, like we will redo the search for free. But again, we've never had to do it.
That's awesome.
If someone leaves in the first year, we didn't do our job right,
Right.
because it's really, really going to Arte. I mean, our we're making sure they're the right culture fit, the right core values fit. There's a million people that could do a job,
Yeah.
but who really is the right culture fit and core value fit and personality fit? And I mean, that's really where you add the value and find the people that are. And we're trying to find people that want to be in a role for the long term, not just for a couple of years.
Gotcha. Well, if you have little switch in the dynamics, if you have access to the DeLorean and you can go to any point of your past. I know you don't like going to your past, but how about we switch it up for you? If you can go to any point of your future because you're forward oriented, at what point in the future or the past you choose, you would go to with the DeLorean to either observe a situation or make some changes?
Yeah, I would go back to. I've told this to my wife a million times. I wish we had like I would love to watch us like meet each other and just our whole story, like starting to date and like the whole because we dated for 7 years before we got married. Um, I would love to just watch that from the very beginning when we first met, just watch our whole story all the way through forward. So and that would take me back to playing college football again, which was absolutely so much fun. That's what I would do. I would go back to, so I met
Just to
her the
observe?
first, what's that?
Just to observe? Just to
Yeah.
watch like a movie?
Or no, to relive it. I mean, watch it, relive it, whatever. I wish I could have like a recording of it all. Yes, so we could see it and like show our kids it. But like yeah, I would go relive it or watch it. Um, that's 100% what I would do.
Bill Gates and a bunch of other guys, they work on time machine, like a real time machine. Because if you think about it realistically, we've had surveillance, really heavy surveillance for good 15, 20 years. And right now, it's such a good quality. Like every freaking gas station has like a 4K quality surveillance in like every street. So technically, that probably will be possible for our kids. There might be a service that will allow you to um, go back to specifically you from September 25th until September 25th next year and just watch all the surveillance cameras from the moment you leave the house. I
That's
think that would be doable, totally doable.
that is creepy.
They do it now with, that's why some criminals nowadays, like, why would you do that? There's cameras everywhere. Like cops find people like so
Yeah,
fast. There's literally cameras everywhere.
yeah,
And plus all these rings that people get for $49. It's like camera inside, camera outside.
yeah.
Like nothing is hidden anymore. You want to do a crime, they will catch you.
Yeah. The
So
th- the thing that I don't get, and I don't know, a lot of people might disagree. People putting their family and like private stuff on social media. Like you're not showing it to your friends, you're showing it to the world, like your
right,
kids. And like I'll just never forget. I read a Michael Connolly book, like he's a mystery crime writer years ago, where the serial killer like tracked all his victims off their social media accounts. And I'm like, I think there's going to be a big shift back for people from putting it all out there. on social media and the internet. And I think people think they get likes and stuff because their kids are cute or their spouse is cute or whatever. It's like, but you're exposing your family in particular to the world. Like there's crazy people out there. I don't understand that. Like there's no reason to do that. But I mean, I'd say the large majority of people that do social media like put their kids and their family out there for the world to see, and like the world, not just your friends, the whole world is seeing that. And I look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's prolific on social media, but he doesn't put any of his family out there ever. So he's super private there. So you can still be prolific on social media without, I don't know, putting your family out there.
That's a
I
great.
don't understand
I gotta stop doing that.
that. I just, that scares me. And everyone's got to do what's right for them and, whatever. But I just like, that is something that I think
Somebody
needs to be.
suggested to me a while ago, this is how you humanize your brand and do one personal post and four professional posts. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's the easy. Plus, do you see how Facebook is asking you now? Do you want to keep this post for 30 days or forever? And a lot of this archive is gone. Like we don't have access to delete it anymore, but they got it. They
Yeah.
keep it. That's in their servers. So like
Yeah.
if you posted something 15 years ago, you can't find it. Like if you scroll through your timeline, at
Uh-huh.
some point now it has an end. You can't go back 5 years and delete something. And you see in Congress how they challenge them. Did you post this on Twitter 15 years ago?
Right. Yeah.
And you called this person. So everything that we post will be used against us.
Right. And you can show your personal life and stuff without like actually showing a picture of your kids as an example. You could have a picture of like, I don't know, like a baby bottle or some diapers, like, but you don't have to like show your kid. Um, and the other thing is, and Gary talks about this too, like people, I don't know, again, people might totally disagree with this and get hate, but like posting your jets and your cars and all that kind of stuff, that adds zero value to your audience. Zero. And people try to say it's aspirational, but all you're doing is making people feel bad. And most of the time, people are renting jets or renting cars to take pictures of it, and it's not even theirs in real life anyway. So like, I really like the Gary V model. Like before you post anything on social media, just think about how is this adding value to the audience, to the person on the other side, not how you're trying to like hype yourself up. And again, most people don't say that one either. I think he is spot on with that. Like posting a picture of your private jet adds no value to anybody. It's just a straight up ego boost for yourself. Like
I agree. I agree about that.
zero
And look
value.
at celebrities don't do that either.
No,
Like they don't post pictures with their kid. Like
they don't post
you
their kids at all.
never. You see somebody's kid, like, wow, you are Bruce Willis' kid. Like they don't do that. You're right.
Right. Unless
Even
you want random people that you've never met to come up to you in the airport and start talking to your kids by their name. Like that would be
and you
creepy
know how
as
many times my profile has been hacked with some,
oh, me too.
and then they will literally take my pictures with my kids. They attack those pictures right away.
Yeah.
And
Because they're easy likes and shares. And like I've had my Instagram hacked. I got rid of Instagram because it got hacked so many times or replicated. Like they'd like recreate it with my exact posts and all the text and all the pictures and videos. Um, it became such a hassle to like tell people this isn't really me or
right.
take it down. Like I just got rid of it. And frankly, and I mean, other than just adding brand and value, or not brand, but adding brand and exposing like Instagram for my business, it's doesn't really, it's not worth the time and effort. So I totally got rid of it.
This is a very good takeaway for me. Yeah. I've got two major takeaways. I just love watching you play basketball. Was the first,
That is a real good one.
and the second is never post your kids again. Even my
I don't
wife.
want to be. I don't want to be preachy. That's just my own.
You're not preachy, but I agree with you.
I just. I think there's going to be a shift back the other way where people are much more private. And I'm very much, as far as social media goes, like a creator, not a consumer. Like I don't sit and look at social media at all. I just like create my stuff and put it out there, and it's all business. I put personal like interests out there, but like I don't sit and look at it. Like, who has time to do that if you're running a business and living your life? Like live your life and like go to your kids' game and go out to eat and have vacations, but you don't need to take pictures of it and share it to the world. It actually
Yeah.
did happen. Even if you don't post a picture of it, you did experience it. It's maybe it's a generational thing. Maybe I sound like an old man. I don't know.
I think we're so obsessed with like documenting everything, and we lose the value of now. The other day, I remember where we were, my wife and I was like, "Do you realize this is the first time I am not recording and I'm just being present in the moment? Didn't take any pictures. I don't remember where we were. But it was some type of experience, and I was like, that was so much fun, just being in it,
Uh-huh.
experiencing versus, oh, I gotta take a picture. I gotta record this because the value. Like I have terabytes of pictures that I'll never see again.
Right. I know.
Like they're just being stored for what purpose? Like life
Yeah.
goes on. I feel like back in the day when we were growing up and we had like 5 pictures of our childhood, you really appreciate those pictures. They're like very
Yeah.
significant.
I
Now we
know.
have 5 million and we never look at them.
I know. Yeah. Like I said, we were having this family reunion this weekend, and like my aunt, who's 92, had a bunch of like photo albums out. Like, so I actually didn't get to see them because I was chatting with people, but people are flipping through the photo albums, and like people, like when you had pictures like that, people actually look at them and you go through the albums. And like you said, people have terabytes of photos that never get seen again. They're just sitting on a
I
server
know.
somewhere.
And it's overwhelming, like going to
Yeah.
organize them all. You're like, no
Yeah.
way. I'm not going through all this data.
I
It's
know.
insane.
Right.
But again, the intention of these social media platforms is not necessarily good. We already know that. The way they control things and the way they shift people's direction of what to think and what to believe. And we experienced it during COVID. Like if you post
Oh,
something, question something, you get marked, you get your post is taken down. So we know that they don't have like, oh yeah, we're all about protecting you. Not really. So this is a good wake up call for me because my wife and I have had this debate, and she doesn't like. She's like, you got to put everything don't put our personal life on social, and she's right. She's right. We got to leave a little mystery. It's like for
yeah.
people, you have a close circle of friends that know you more intimately, and they know your kids, and they
Yeah.
know everybody, versus the whole world knowing who you are. And I think that people just want to live life of celebrities.
I
And
know.
social media gives you that uh, experience of just being exposed, and
Yeah.
the
But then
Kardashians.
I know. And you hear like the real celebrities, and it's in movies like portraying celebrities. Like that is the biggest downfall of celebrity is I mean they can't leave their house without being mobbed with people, and there's no privacy, and like why would you purposely do that to yourself when you don't need to?
Right. And that's, you know, there is a good, not being recognized is a huge privilege. Being anonymous, going to have experiences with life.
Yeah.
Most celebrities would trade their fame for just being able to, I know European soccer players, they don't get recognized in the United States. They love United States because they can go to any
Right.
bar, any
Right.
restaurant, and nobody knows who they are.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, we love Like Messi is pretty famous, but if he goes somewhere in Iowa,
I know, right? You're right. Yeah,
You're like, who the hell is this dude? You know,
I know.
and he will be like, wow, I don't have to give autographs, and I don't need
Yeah,
my security here. I can just walk in this zoo and just enjoy life.
yeah,
Because imagine how overwhelming this is. You know, having security, being afraid somebody's gonna take your kids for hostage or something like that.
right. Yeah,
It's
that's scary
you become a
stuff.
target, easy target.
Yeah,
So that was a good point. You know, to trade your ego and need for attention and likes
yeah,
for something that's way more precious. It's good to have little mystery around
yeah.
us.
I agree.
So those are my two takeaways.
Okay, good.
the
I'm
other
glad.
takeaway, the other takeaway is never let anyone on my to say they were undercompensated. That's a really good takeaway for me. To never be
Yeah,
accused of that. You know,
yeah,
it shouldn't be the main conversation.
yeah.
You know,
And I
I'm a
mean,
big
yeah, I mean, some people have unreasonable expectations of what they should be paid and things like that. My point is really like when it's set out, like, this is the comp structure and how it works. Like, if there's questions on it, just err on the side of giving them more than they're technically entitled. Like if there's, like I would think like if like let's say it's a business development thing between me and one of my recruiters, and technically, I really did 99% of winning this thing, but they were involved. I'll just give them the business development part of the commission. Like if they really feel like that, or like it's somewhere close, like that kind of stuff. It's like maybe it's a little bit gray there, but like we'll just give it to you so you just feel like you're treated right. Um, as a you know,
it's just taking care of your people,
yeah,
making sure they eat.
right.
Not make it excessively where you create a monster
Hmm.
and they get paid for something they didn't earn,
Right.
but find that golden agreement of them saying, I am compensated handsomely
Uh huh.
to tell others
Yeah.
I'm really well taken care of where I work. So that's the
Yeah.
least of my problems. I um,
And money, I mean, money's not the most important thing, but it matters. And that
yeah,
like hits people to the core. Like if they're treated unfairly around money, like that just gives a bad taste in people's mouths. So
yeah,
I mean,
winning matters,
yeah,
recognition matters to
yeah.
some,
I remember
but money
reading,
is pretty important.
yeah, reading it was either on Audible or actually reading a book, and it was talking about the guy that founded the Four Seasons Hotel way back when. And he was really the first hotel person to bring in high-end restaurants in the hotel, to have like Michelin star like restaurants in a hotel back in the 50s or whenever it was. Um, and his philosophy in business was, I want my when I have a partnership with someone, and he was
Mhm,
talking about like the hotel being partners with the restaurant. I want my partners to get rich. Like a win for me is if you partner with me, you're going to get rich.
mhm.
Like that's what makes for great partnerships. Like you make your partners rich instead of like trying to nickel and dime things. Like I want to make you rich if you're my partner, and that's what makes for long-standing partnerships where people are happy and everybody's making money. If you just focus on making your partner rich, you're not going to go wrong. So when people approach me, I've always remember that, like with partnerships or deals to do with our firm or other things, like I always tell them, like that's my philosophy. Like when we're doing, splits on things or putting the financials together, like my deal is, or my focus is, or mindset is, if you partner with me, I'm going to make you rich. Like that's what I want. I'm not going to nickel and dime you. Like I want to make you rich. You know, so I just think that's a great mindset when you're looking at partnering with people on things. You want to make like if a win is you making them money, then in the end you're going to make money. But if you think of
Yeah,
them first and have the other focus first, like that is always a win.
I agree. I agree. What are some tips you would like to give to employers on finding good candidates and people who feel unappreciated finding good employers?
Yeah. You definitely, I mean,
Or maybe some tips on interviews. What are some good questions to ask
yeah, I
to
think you really want to make sure
find?
like great candidates have a lot of options. Like they can come to your company, or there's a million other companies they can go to. Candidates have the power, like great ones, A players. So you have to have a compelling story to tell about your company to the marketplace and to those A players. Like if you just think your company is great and great people should come and want to work with you, like that is you're gonna lose because they have a lot of options. You have to have a compelling story to take to the market on why it's great to work at your organization. And that starts with culture and your core values. And if you lead with that, we're looking for a new CFO. These are our core values. Like you're going to attract the right candidates. And like working with a recruiter, like if as we're telling your story and we can share your core values, we're going to attract the right candidates and repel the right ones too. The ones that don't buy into your core value, if a recruiter is sharing that story or you have it posted somewhere, like these are our core values, you want to detract the right people and attract the right people. So like lead with that. These are our core values. This is who we are in this organization. This is what our culture is. This is what our company stands for. Like start with that uh, in the recruiting or talent acquisition process. And then throughout the process, you got to treat the people right. Be super transparent. Communicate. The biggest complaint the candidates have when they're going through a process is, they interview at a company or they interview with a recruiter, and worst case scenario, they never hear from them again. They just get totally ghosted, or it takes forever to get feedback or hear next steps. So just communicate. And
Mhm.
like I always just tell our candidates, like when we're getting to the next step, like I will get like I'm supposed to talk to the client on this date. I will get back to you on this date. And even if the update is there's no update, at least you've heard from me.
Right.
There's no update because your mind just automatically goes to the worst possible scenario. They're not interested. They didn't like me. No, we haven't been able to connect yet. There is no update yet. We're still in the process, and just keep the communication flow going because that's like the first introduction to who your company is and what your culture is like. Like we value people. We're going to communicate to you. We're going to let you know what's going on. We're going to be transparent with our process. I think companies do such a horrible job of, again, big picture, hiring and doing the whole talent acquisition recruiting process.
Yeah. What are some pros and cons between developing someone who's entry level to becoming a class A player versus recruiting and paying signing bonus to a already finished A player?
Uh-huh. I mean, I think the young people need mentors within your organization. And if you don't have a mentor, like find them a mentor outside of the organization.
Mhm.
But they need to be mentored, especially, I mean, if they're hungry to learn, give them the tools to learn and get and show them the path and how they move up in your organization. I mean, people want to know and see that. You're not guaranteeing it's going to go this fast, but like this is what it looks like. This is where we see you. And just and then ask them what do you want? Like where do you want to be next in your career? What are your goals? And then you can show how we can help you get there. Or if there isn't really a path to do that, you can let them know. Um, and again, we don't really work with entry level people. It's all high level,
Yeah, yeah.
executive leaders. I mean, I think it's
Some
always
companies maybe want to develop someone that works in certain departments, have an amazing
yeah,
results, and has the leadership skills to one day be the CEO. So
right.
maybe they're thinking ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
What
it's
would you-
always great to have succession plans within your organization for different departments or career plans because the best people, have the best CEOs have worked in all the different departments and they
Mhm.
understand all the aspects of business and how things work. And they are totally bought into your culture and core values and your brand. And if you can bring them up into the C-suite, I mean, that's ideal.
Right.
Um, but if that's not there, that's when you engage a firm like us or another executive recruitment firm to find someone from the outside to come in. Um, but if you can do homegrown talent, that's always the best.
Yeah.
But you also have to be realistic. Like even if you might have a great internal candidate, but they just don't have the skill set to be a CFO or to be a CEO or a chief operating officer. Like they might be a great number two in one of those departments, but you have to be realistic. Like, does this person really have the aptitude to lead our company or lead our financial function or our operations or our technology? Because there's a lot of great like technologists, brilliant people, but they can't be the chief technology officer because they don't have the communication skills to deal
Yeah.
with like the board and the C-suite and all the technology people. Like that's a real skill set to be able to bridge both of those and have the communication skills, the social aptitude, the EQ to do that stuff. So you have to be look at the world as it is, um, and not be unrealistic.
I agree. In closing, what are your personal core values and your company core values?
Yeah. So company core values: lead with authenticity, act with integrity. That's number one. Pursue excellence, exceed expectations is number two. Number three is growth mindset, focused determination. And number four is pioneer with passion, make an impact. So those are our four core values on our website. And then we have more explanations of what all those mean. But
Those are more like 8, but you compacted it into 4.
yeah, they're kind of compound
Keep it
things.
simple. Yeah.
Um, but we are an organization of growth and innovation, and we're trying to transform the recruiting and the executive search landscape and the industry. And we want people that have that growth mindset and people that can work together. And we're just very team focused, not like
Mhm.
me focused. And we do, like we talk about in Arte and in EOS, we're an EOS or traction company. I mean, we hire by our core values, we train up by our core values, we fire by our core values, we run the business based on the core values. And it really helps you crystallize things and makes decisions a lot easier um, to run your business based on your core values. It just having that focus makes things a lot better. And I would say as like a big overall thing for me personally, I am um, practically optimistic. Like I am totally optimistic and super positive, but also practical and can like see the world as it is, not
Yeah.
delusional. But I do choose to see the positive in every situation, um, and just kind of have that thought of like the idea that you have like 100 units of thought you can have in a day. So I want to pack those all with positive growth things and don't let negatives fit into those 100 things that I focus on. So really don't spend a lot of time watching the news or dinking around on social media or just all these places that you can have negative influences. I just want to feed my mind with books and podcasts and audibles and just information that is positive and growth and learning, and because you just have a finite amount of attention and
Yeah,
I want your attention to be focused, and then that compounds on itself.
it does.
And I really believe on that, and that's why I talk about not thinking about back when I was in the crib, or or if you have a bad experience, like focus on it, learn the lesson and move on, but don't keep going back to that negative thing over and over and over again. I just I,
That's the
I just
key.
I just don't, like, I've learned the lesson, and let's focus on today and tomorrow, and I don't know, and have fun. I mean, don't take yourself so serious. I mean, it's like we- let's have fun while we're working or living life and enjoy the process. And I mean, being an entrepreneur and running a business is enough of a grind and like the Jerry Maguire thing, like an up and down, pride swallowing siege. I mean, let's have fun while we're in the trenches and working and living our lives. Otherwise, what's the point of doing all this and building companies and wealth and influence if you're not enjoying it and
Yeah,
getting fulfillment? And
you're right.
yeah.
Who's coming with me?
Yeah. Right.
Show
Yeah.
me the money.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
That's good.
Uh, it's funny because this kid now looks older than Tom Cruise. The the blonde kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you see pictures, it's like
Oh yeah. Right.
bald. And you see Tom Cruise. Who
Yeah,
knows?
I
That's
know.
the secret. But hey, Kip, it's such a great pleasure to have you. We can talk for hours and hours and
I
hours.
know. This is super fun. Thank you.
I really appreciate you joining us, and hopefully we can have you again in the future
For
and
sure.
follow your progress. I love what you're doing. I love your story, and I really appreciate you coming as a guest. How can people find you? This is the time where you can, if someone's watching that wants to become a C-suite executive or somebody who's looking to be introduced to those companies, commercial real estate, how can they find you?
Yeah. So you can see my name is right on here, Kip Knippel. So that is my like on all the social media platforms. I'm on all of them, but it's just my name on all of them at Kip Knippel or just Kip Knippel. So I mean, LinkedIn's probably the biggest one for me, just because that's where our business is really done. But we're on all the platforms. Kip Search. So it's just my name here. Search is our business and kipsearch.com. So if you Google either one of those, you can, find all our stuff. But socials, I have my own podcast called The Capitalist Culture. Uh, it all links together. But yeah, this has been an honor. Super fun being with you here. Thank you.
Thank you. I see Bitcoin and Ethereum in the
Yeah,
background there.
a lot of crypto. I'm really trying to position us, among other things, to be the number one executive recruiting firm in Web3 and blockchain and crypto and
Mm,
AI.
good.
Uh, Partly just I'm super interested, but I mean that is the future. So we want to be right there.
Today's is good. I think it's at 67.
Right. And again, it's the long term. Like everyone's looking at the ups and downs every day. It's like just where is it going to be? I mean, where is Bitcoin going to be? $1 million a Bitcoin, $100,000. I mean, I don't know what it is. 2036, 2037, like 99.99% of all Bitcoin will already be mined. So for the rest of time, there'll be just a fraction of Bitcoins created. So like the value is it's there and it's gonna go through the roof. Again, not financial advice. This is my belief, but long term, not buying and selling. Like I will never sell my Bitcoin ever. Anyway, that's just me.
I sold a little bit, but no more. I just had to cash out. It was so good. But anyways, thank you so much. We'll stay in touch, and
Yes.
hopefully we can see you again. Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Thank you. I really appreciate it. So much fun.